One of my first writing jobs out of university was for an investment-grade diamond company. I was 23 and very green. I found it on Craigslist because apparently Craigslist was my literary agent at the time. The company sold natural fancy colored diamonds, and it was run by a man with an enormous personality who liked to say, "White diamonds are like belly buttons. Everyone's got one. What you really need is a natural fancy colored diamond." I learned that a 20-carat diamond could supposedly hold the weight of the Empire State Building, which feels like the kind of fact that a diamond company would be thrilled for me to repeat and absolutely never verify. I don't know who tested that. I like to imagine like this very nervous intern under the Empire State Building with a clipboard. But this part I know. A diamond is the hardest natural substance on Earth. It can take pressures I still can't fully understand, the kind of force that exists at the center of the planet. And yet, if you take a hammer to a diamond and hit it exactly at the right spot, it shatters. What blows my mind is that a diamond is just carbon, the same element as soot in a chimney. What separates the thing on your finger from the dust in your fireplace is two things: pressure and time. 1 billion years, sometimes 3, far below the Earth's surface. I wrote that kind of copy for 2 years. I thought I was describing diamonds. I was describing people. Every one of us is carrying pressure right now. Some of it we choose. The dream that got bigger than our stamina. And some of it we never choose at all. Rent, illness, a parent who suddenly needs us, a body that stops cooperating. So here's the question I invite you to sit with. What is the pressure forming in you right now? The one that you're too far inside of to see the shape of yet. We talk about pressure like it's the thing that's breaking us, the constant stress of life happening to us, the deadlines, the health issues, relationship strain, the work we don't feel validated for. And we're not wrong to want more ease in our lives. Nobody's out there adding emotional stress to our vision board. But what if the stress we're ashamed to be carrying is also the thing that's shaping us into colored diamonds? What if our real colors only show up under that kind of weight? Last week, I sat down with James, who writes under the pen name Hawthorn V. Rabot, about his memoir, Too Soon, Too Late. James told me he had never written anything before last July. Not really, or at least not for himself. Then, in the space of a year, he wrote a memoir, a weekly Substack, essays, poems. A couple thousand readers gathered around him because there was something in his writing that was so honest, and it felt unsafe in the right way. But he still says it like a disclaimer: I'm not a writer. When James was in college, he watched a film about Schmidt. Jack Nicholson plays a recently retired man who, in the middle of losing everything, starts writing letters to a sponsored child in Tanzania. He doesn't know what to say. He says way too much in this letter, and then he sends it into what feels like a void. And at the end of the movie, a letter comes back. Just a child's drawing. A man and a small figure holding hands under a bright sun. Schmidt cried, but he didn't break. James signed up to sponsor children that same week. And over a decade, he kept writing through changes, through COVID, a marriage that was falling apart. And years later, James is on a plane to Bogotá, and his body has stopped cooperating. He's so sick. His head is spinning. His mouth is dry. The walls are going soft. The air is thick. His vision splits. There's one phone on the left. There's one phone on the right. There's one right in the center. So he aims for the center one. He grabs it. And he just starts writing with his thumbs. A memoir. His thumbs are moving across the glass while his body is trying to shut down. And he starts just putting down his life. The marriage, the loneliness. America started to feel like a room that he couldn't relax into anymore. His wife's phone, he writes, was her heartbeat. He had learned to read her pulse by the glow of the screen. And somewhere during that flight, his body made a decision that his mind couldn't argue with. And he started writing his book. When he lands, he finds a bench and ugly cries. Not the dignified kind. The kind that takes over your whole face in public and does not care. He is sick, alone, in a city he doesn't know, and he barely makes it to the hotel. A local doctor is sent to his unremarkable room with an IV and takes care of him. He is beyond grateful for the kindness of strangers. He goes back home to America and nothing fits. He's back in his life, but he's not back in himself. He's carrying around an existence that belongs to a previous version of himself. Something cracked open on that plane and it isn't closing. He writes the memoir in 2 weeks. This is the part I keep thinking about. The writing started as survival, but it turned him into someone who could finally look at his life without blinking. In our interview, I asked James why he felt so compelled to write. He said in so many words that he needed to get it down so he could see his life clearly, what had happened, and what he was responsible for. Later, he goes to Uganda during COVID, while him and his wife are separated. At immigration, the officer glances at his passport. James notices that she's drinking from this charity that he had been writing to for years. It's that same organization. She stamps the passport. He gets through. He's driven out past the cities, and then he sees it. The headquarters. A large building in the middle of nowhere. He can barely speak. His guide turns to him and looks at him. "Are you okay?" And he was. He was doing great. Maybe better than years ever before. He had sent years and years of letters into what felt like a void. And here was the building that all those letters came to. He smiled very big. And then he cried like Jack Nicholson in the movie. But like Schmidt, he didn't break. The whole shape of his life was failing at once. And that's what pressure does. It shows you what you can hold. For James, it was this thing he'd built for 10 years when no one was watching. The pressure didn't create it. It revealed it. James says he's not a writer. Never learned how, was never supposed to be. And yet a memoir, a Substack, thousands of readers, because his honesty gives them permission to be honest too. I think he's wrong about not being a writer, but I understand why he says it. Because what happened on the plane probably didn't feel like writing. It felt like something crawling out of him that had been waiting for exactly the wrong time to reveal itself. Remember the diamonds? Pure carbon comes out colorless. Blue ones take on boron under pressure. The pink ones are bent at the level of their structure. The green ones pass close to radiation on the way up out of the earth. The color is the record. What got in? What bent it? What passed near and somehow survived? That's not just a fact about diamonds. That's James. That's me. That's me and James. That's both of us still writing after being told I wasn't good enough. Maybe that's you too. Creativity isn't always the thing that you sit down to do. You don't arrive at truth and then write it down. You write your way toward it, sentence by sentence, until you look up and realize you're already somewhere else. James aimed at the phone and started typing. That's all it was. That's all it ever is. So that's what I'll leave you with. You're under pressure right now. You can feel it. What you can't see yet is the color it's making, what it's forming in you under all that weight. And you won't recognize until later. And wherever you are inside that pressure, I hope you keep going. I write about this on Substack, Wannabe Wisdom. It's the private storm behind the creative work. And if you want to go deeper, become a paid subscriber on Substack. It has frameworks, theta therapy audios to help you work through blocks, and also my guide to getting started on Substack. Don't forget to subscribe, click, and like.